Gang is here. 159 is the new name of the game, but can we keep up with the pace? Old is gold. Just ask Mary Wamboi Munene, or shall we ask the president himself? We are heading to the coast and we are not waiting for that list of Mashujaa, or are we? We'll also check what is left of the mizigo that Ekuru Aukot has been carrying around the counties. And finally, we'll have the kicker, the memo, the take, the punchline, and of course, the young. Welcome to the show.
And a patriotic note. Remember Vienna, remember 159 on Saturday morning. We were all up from 9:15 to watch Eliud Kipchoge make history. Let's see that race.
200 meters to go. Eliud Kipchoge, let's keep an eye on the clock. Into the final 20 seconds. Eliud Kipchoge.
I still actually get goosebumps when I see that. It's a pride of a nation.
159, yeah.
I
was doing this.
159, yeah.
Time,
no, I on the prize.
Yeah.
Joe, where were you when this was happening?
I was actually in my house. and I couldn't sit still. I kept walking around, and like it was one of those moments that you would. I remember one time when. J.F. Kennedy spoke in Berlin, and he was saying, Ich ein bin Berliner. It was something that proud to be Berlinian. At the time, it was a big deal because of what was happening then. At that point, I felt like Mimi inafurahi kwa Mkenya. That was really like a golden moment in every sense of it.
It was, and yes.
And it's what I was just thinking as I was doing that. I kept thinking, how come we don't have these moments all the time in this country? That time there was no one who was talking about where they come from. There was no one who was talking about all this Kieleweke, ODM, what everything was at a standstill. We were all Kenyans. And I kept asking, what is the missing spark that could make us all just think like Kenyans all the time?
Then speaking about everyone watching this particular race, I am actually told the official numbers are not yet out of the number of people who watched this race. But it is said that more people watched this 1 hour 59, 1 hour 59 minutes and 40 seconds. More people watched it than the whole number of people and the audiences in stadium and watching on television, on mobile phones, for the World Championships in Doha in 2019. Remember that happened like 2 weeks ago? Wow. It was almost a 2-week event. Yeah. But more people are said to have watched Eliud Kipchoge make history than those who watched that whole competition.
In 1 hour 59 minutes than they did for the entire Doha.
Yes.
And you talked about people watching it on television, on your phones and wherever. I mean, mine is a very personal one. We were at the most unlikely place. And so I'll get emotional, but I'll try and tell this story. For those who know me know I lost my brother a year ago. And on Saturday, we had a memorial for him by the graveside. But we were there with our phones. And we literally delayed the start. It was supposed to start at 11. And my family is watching this now. And he won. And the minute he did, it was a minute of joy in the middle of a sorrowful moment. And it really just changed it. Because my aunties and uncles and my mom and my cousins were all like, he did it. And we were literally by the graveside.
Wow.
And then we said, we can begin. And so we began the service. And I guarantee you, we began the service on a higher note than we would have. But here's what's interesting, because there was another family that was on a graveside that was nearby. And just before we began, they walked away and they said, and my God, if they're watching, I don't even know who they were, but they were there and they were about to pray. And then one guy said, 159, 159. And they said, he did it. And then they said, the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Sawa, cheers. And they walked away. Like that was the moment in a most unlikely place in a graveyard where Eliud Kipchoge made history and made us hopeful. So for me, I know everyone else says, oh, he made history, did all of these things. For me, I just say to Eliud, thank you for making what was a difficult moment that much easier.
Thank you, Eliud. And you've said something so emotionally bold, and thank you for sharing it with all of us.
Yeah, I know. I don't usually share personal stuff, but this was just a very poignant moment
Thank you for sharing that, Yvonne. And for me, Linus, do we appreciate the Eliuds, the Bridgets, the Kamurols, the Rudishas of this world as Kenyans as we should? Because when they go out there, They bring us glory. They run in our name as Kenya. But do we appreciate them as we should?
If we did, Jamila, we would be a much better nation than we are. That morning was one of the greatest mornings or days to be a Kenyan. It was really, really a special day to be a Kenyan. I was in class watching this. I hope lecturers are not watching this show.
We now
They should have been watching it too.
We now know.
Yeah. And I was streaming in between.
I think whatever notes they gave you on that day, you need to look at them again.
Yes, and at some point with 20 minutes to go, I became really apprehensive that this is not humanly possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I live in Rongai. It's 24 kilometers from town. You cannot make it Rongai by car, waving and acknowledging people and greeting people. And I'm saying, you can't do that
Don't
now.
do that.
Cross the line first, and then we'll see about the greetings.
Yeah.
And then he actually did it.
Yeah.
And then, to me, the biggest lesson there was the value of 1 second, just how long 1 second is.
Yeah.
It's a very, very long time. But Jamila, listen, there's this footage that then came to my phone from our team in Eldoret.
Okay.
Of that moment when Eliud Kipchoge crossed the line and the roar
Sea of people.
of this crowd. The roar of this crowd.
Yeah.
There's only 2 occasions I've seen people doing that. One was when the fully packed stadium in Kasarani, I think it was 1998, January 7th. Kenya, a very small makeshift team brought together by the Harambee Stars coach Reinhard Fabish, was playing against Nigeria. And, very bumpy pitch and all that. We had no hope. We were going there to watch Nigeria, Super Eagles, fresh from the Olympics in Atlanta, killing Harambee Stars.
And to avoid a walkover.
And to avoid, yes. So we were going to watch Nigeria beat us. And Kenneth Simiyu, I think that was a player, scored. And we all rose up. Jamila, that moment was as great as what we saw with Eliud Kipchoge. Where I come from, we're not allowed to show certain emotions like tears. So I needed a lot of privacy. That morning. Eliud Kipchoge. And you see, for me, there was
made a whole
that
man
personal
cry.
build-up.
Yeah.
You remember very well that my kicker the week before that
Yes, that's
was
right.
Eliud do this thing.
Yeah. He
I
did
wasn't sure he can, and he did it.
Gashuri, Eliud said in an interview that he trained for 4.5 months for this. And this was his second trial. He had tried it 2 years ago in Monda, and he had only 26 seconds. Alikosa tu na sekunde 26. But remember, this guy is a world record holder. He holds the world record for the marathon, which he set in 2018 at the Berlin Marathon. It's 2 hours, 1 minute and 39 seconds. That is a huge achievement. But there are those who will tell you that this particular race, the 159, is not going to be recognized by IAAF as a world record because of some conditions, including that he was the only competitor, the fact that he had all these pacemakers who kept coming and going, and he was being given his drink directly by someone who was running alongside him, who was on a motorcycle, as opposed to when it's a race, you have to go get it yourself. And of course, this course in Vienna was not recognized by IAAF. Of course, they're saying all these things, but still, it's a matter of pride.
Wait, it's okay. It's okay to say all those things. And if anyone else would have done the same, given the same circumstances, then I dare them to try. I mean, let's not rain on Kipchoge's party.
It is our party, actually.
It's our party. And for me, I just drew one lesson from that if you put it in your mind and you believe it and you work hard for it, you will get it. Because it's
marathon, the look on her face when she crossed the finish line.
She didn't know.
She had no idea she had done so well. I think let's watch Bridget do that. There we go.
Wow.
There was Bridget. She broke away so early.
It was almost like she was running all by herself.
And I like the explanation. It was very, very simple. I felt my body moving. I kept going. It kept moving forward. And I became number one.
Number one. So
Yeah,
even this whole thing of the record.
She had,
it
yeah.
was
She had, and
something
this-
that
And this
she
is
learned
that
after the
moment
fact.
right there. See, so when she cuts the tape,
She's like, oof, thank God it's over.
for her it was just, I'm done.
Just another race.
And then she sees people and she's like,
What's
look,
going on
That's
here?
Paula
Look at that.
Radcliffe. She broke
Look at
Paula
that.
Like,
Radcliffe's
what is the big
16-year
deal,
record,
eh?
Joe.
But let me tell you what was interesting about this.
Oh.
Did you see the pressure that there was on Paula Radcliffe to change her bio on social media?
Yeah.
Everybody told her, change it. You are no
Yeah.
longer the world marathon record holder. I mean, you've got to give it to Kenyans.
16 years
And
later.
she did.
Yeah.
But listen, I just want to say a little something about this. I know we say this all the time, even on social media. So that interview she had, I want to stand in her defense. She understood the question.
Yes.
She probably just doesn't express herself in English as well. Surely, speak in Kiswahili, Kalenjin, Nandi, Kisii,
Watu
whatever
wajipange
it is.
huko.
Yeah.
It is up to them. I mean,
At
and
that
as a
point,
media house,
at that
you're
point,
very-
actually, they
you're
need her more than,
overwhelmed.
but
They
than
need
she
her.
needs.
That's
Yeah,
right.
they will figure out what she
And
means.
think about it. As a media house, we get people speaking all sorts of languages. It is up to us to find a translator. If we
and
really
by the way,
need
for me,
yes,
it was like, you know what?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't need English
you don't
to
win
break a world
race.
record.
Absolutely.
It is a message that should
It
actually
is.
reach out.
Yeah.
You don't break a world record in
struggle.
English.
That's right.
No, you don't.
Speak
Yeah.
whatever
It's not our language, is it?
Yeah. Let me tell you, even if it's Isuha
Yes.
or Olotirik, speak it, please.
And we need to remember one
We
thing.
will find a
I'm
translator.
sorry, Gashuri and Elinas. I think most people did not know who Bridget was before this.
Exactly.
But we need to remember that, one, she won the Chicago Marathon 2018 and 2019 and is the current winner of the London Marathon, which she won in 2019. So she is actually a very accomplished
And
athlete.
guys, if we are moving this a little bit faster, there was an interesting development that happened on the back of this. There was a little tiff between Dennis Itumbi and Boniface Mwangi when Dennis suggested something about the awards that we will see at Mashujaa Day, and the rebuff from Boniface Mwangi was like, those things have been tainted, now they are dirty and all
Yeah.
that. And this coming, of course, a few days to Mashujaa Day, and raising the question of who the true heroes really are. Where are we with this thing? I mean, we've seen this debate come every year when we're about to mark this, and everybody's just saying, okay, let's see who's going to get the head of state commendation, elder of the golden heart, and all of those things that usually come. Francis?
Yeah, the problem with the awards is that there have been issues, there have been questions about the authenticity of the persons who have been awarded, and
What, you mean they're not Kenyan?
they are, but whether they deserve, whether they deserve.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, the number of people who had these awards were not very many, and they meant something.
Yeah.
But since a few years ago, there were awards, people started questioning the seriousness of these awards. The most famous is Githeriman. And people started questioning the authenticity and the seriousness in these awards. Maybe this is an opportunity to bring the awards back to where they were or ought to have been. I mean, look around. This country is not short of heroes and heroines. Look for the right people, look for the right categories, look for the right classification and the right reasons for awarding people, such that countrywide people will say, yeah, that guy is a hero and deserves it.
And you know, many times when I meet people and someone gives you a card and then you see, you know, there's EGH, I don't know, HSC, and you're thinking, okay, where did this come from? You're not too sure that person deserves it, but what have you seen, Jamila?
No, I've seen, you know, when the lists usually come out, it's maybe a day before the actual event, and we all question, like, who is this? Nani? Maybe they've done something in one way or another to deserve that honor. But in the past, we've seen instances where maybe political friends are being awarded for whatever they've done, especially they say when it's the first one after elections. But I've seen instances when I'll give an example of President Obama. When he was leaving office, he actually gave out some of the highest civilian honors. And when he'd speak, he'd give a citation before the award is given, and he'd give all these reasons why this particular person is being given this, and you clearly cannot even dispute and say, it's because they deserve it. And I think that's where these awards need to go. It's a head of state commendation. It's a big deal. It can change your life.
Few. You can't have like 1,000 of them, so you can actually read all these things.
Exactly, and it is something that will actually change your life. Like Jamila Mohammed ECJ, like, yay, it means something because it comes from the head of state, your president. And I think it should be given to those who truly, truly deserve it.
And speaking of that, I just wanted to touch on the National Honors Act, which talks about the persons who deserve this. A person who has exhibited or exhibits exemplary qualities, actions, achievements of heroism, sacrifice, bravery, patriotism, or leadership. A person who's made an exemplary contribution to the country in the economic, social, scientific, academic, public administration, governance, sports, journalism, business, security, other fields. And it's all put together by an advisory committee that then puts this together. It's actually chaired by the deputy president, and they then give these names to the head of state. And the awards are many, and I know the focus has been on the HSC because that's the one that's sort of been riddled, but there are many. There's the categories, the Order of the Golden Heart, Uhodari Medal, the Order of the Burning Spear, and each of these have 3 classes. Order of the Grand Warrior, OGW, Distinguished Conduct Order, Distinguished Service Medal, the Silver Star of Kenya, the famous, or should I say infamous, Head of State's Commendation in the Military Division, and Civilian. So, I mean, these are there, and this is outlined, and there's also in that act outlined a way in which, if they dishonor themselves, that these awards can be taken away and can be revoked.
Yeah. Wow. Linus, you've covered this for many years and you keep seeing this. Just paint a picture of how this used to be and how it is now.
Yeah, in the old days, you would find a lot of pride in seeing these people being awarded. In the villages, for example, it would be one of those long-serving chiefs. And even the community knows that this man has done a lot in terms of service. Because the history of awards, it's not really a Kenyan concept. We borrowed this from the West. And the 3 things that must be outstanding for one to be awarded was service, sacrifice, and heroism. Those 3 things, or one of the 3 must at least be there. And so this thing used to be highly valued. You would hear of a chief, a paramount chief or a senior chief, going to the DC's office to receive his medal. And it's such a big ceremony. And they'll come back to the village, and the village recognizes that this is something major that has happened.
There's no argument about it.
There's no argument,
this person deserves it.
But look, it depends on the administration in office. I think progressively certain governance aspects have been eroded. When you look at this list of those people who will be awarded, you can actually place where a name is coming from. You can find there's some influence peddler at State House must have had their own list. If you look at the list between 2013 and now, you can actually attribute, you can find exactly where the Githeri man was coming from, and even other names.
Which is, I think, at the end of the day, a disservice to the people who truly deserve. I mean, imagine a list that has Githeri man and Eliud Kipchoge. I mean, like,
it's very sad, which is why, unfortunately, these awards are very, very tainted. We need a break as a country, maybe a cleanup period, where we say for the next 4 years, you're not going to give out any medals, especially in the civilian category. We continue with the military category because they do service, they do sacrifice their heroes continuously. That you can place in, you can actually place it. But when it comes to the civilian side, there is a lot of dirty work that has gone on between 2013 and now. Sadly for Eliud Kipchoge, he'll be receiving, and I think this is tainted.
But these awards must also mean something. It's not just being awarded, they must mean something. And they should also, in a way, encourage other people to emulate the award holders, such that in the future, you also aspire to be awarded.
Yeah.
In fact, let me quote something that John Kianda, our colleague from Hot 96, is saying. Will Eliud be happy when a statue is built in his honor, or a road named after him, or when he sees sports facilities being built?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, I saw another very interesting discussion. Why is it that success has very many relatives?
Fathers.
Yeah, and very many fathers, yeah? Imagine the situation or the circumstances that our athletes train in. Yet when they win, that's when the government wants to do dinners and breakfasts for them. Go back to the basics. Let's have the right facilities. I mean, look at the rugby team, the Lionesses. They were struggling, but when they succeeded, you saw tweets from the ministry congratulating them. I mean, where were you when they were struggling?
For a fact, Gashuri,
we need to take some
we'll take a break. I'm actually the break. Before I take the break, I can tell you for a fact that Bridget Kosgei, where she trains, it's somewhere on the border of West Pokot and Elgeyo Marakwet counties. They don't have a speed track, and they need one. So what they do, they either train on the road, and when it rains, the roads are not passable, they cannot use them, or they go 5 to 10 kilometers to a nearby school to use the field. In fact, in other instances, some have been forced to go all the way to the Moi University Eldoret track to be able to do speed track training. And wakishinda, we are lining up at the end of the finish line.
With dancers.
Clap. All right. We are taking a break. We have a bit more to talk about. There's SGR, there's Mary Wamboy and other jobs, and there's a lot more. Keep it here on the News Gang.